reaction to this. It's unbelievable. That first half was extraordinary.
And as bad as the first half was, I think the second half is even more concerning when you think of the lack of urgency, the lack of energy, the lack of reaction by Manchester United. A 3-1 is still Manchester United playing against Brighton. So you're thinking, okay, we're going to go into halftime. We're going to put in a message in where we get a second goal. Now we put Brighton in a situation where they have to defend. They're going to have to hang on. It's going to be nearly impossible for them to hang on to the 3-2 result, potentially. They never really got that second goal back until the 94th minute. But besides the fact that they get the late second goal, is the idea that there was never a thought, a process, an urgency, a level of energy that you needed for Manchester United to establish themselves in the game and really pressure Brighton. And that's the thing that would concern me, because it tells me that this is a team that there's a disconnect. Yeah. Whether it's between the players, whether it's with the players and the manager, or whether it's the fact that Jose Mourinho spent all the preseason saying, well, this group that I have is not good enough. And if you keep telling guys that they're not good enough, that they need more, that they need something else, well, in the end, what you're doing is creating a built-in excuse, and you're creating an environment in which it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You say they're not good enough, well, they just show you they're not good enough.
On that point, Shaq, I just want to bring up Paul Pogba's comments after the game. Jose Mourinho, after the game, was actually quite quiet for Mourinho, said that his team made mistakes and Brighton made the most of them. That's what Pogba said. They had more hunger than us. I put myself first, that my attitude wasn't right enough. We made mistakes we shouldn't make. My attitude wasn't right enough. Well, a professional footballer going into this game, that astounds me.
More than just a professional footballer, we are talking about a World Cup winner. We are talking about the Manchester United captain, the player who's become the face of arguably the world's biggest football club. Talking about his attitude not right enough in the second game after winning the World Cup, by the way. And I think this speaks to what we've seen between Paul Pogba and Jose Mourinho playing out. That it's not that easy just to switch off the criticism and be the player that you want to be. And again, this comes down to man management. But Paul Pogba here, as much as he's taking the blame, kind of epitomized what's been going on with Manchester United and what we saw all game long. Now, as I looked at this game, first of all, you have to start by saying credit to Brighton and Hove Albion, who were absolutely fantastic. A week ago, got bullied at Watford. And then come home to this one thinking, this is not the game we want. This is a Manchester United who started so well 12 months ago. This is not what we want. And even though Manchester United had the lion's share of the possession, especially early on, they never bothered Brighton and didn't put them under any kind of pressure. All that possession was along the back four. Little ball into the middle to Fred every now and then. And Brighton grew into this game and realised, hold on, it's here for the taking. And my issue with Manchester United, despite the possession, I have no problem with you keeping the ball in the back, dictating the pace of the game. At no point did you look like you could hurt Brighton and Hove Albion. And that has been my complaint about Jose Mourinho's sides for some time now, that they want to find a formation, find a shape, and wait for the other team to make a mistake. And if they don't, they struggle. And if you do, you find yourself on the wrong side of a result, which is exactly what happened today. Brighton and Hove Albion made no mistakes. They got the 2 goals, but didn't trouble them anywhere near as much as they should have. Manchester United did, and they come away with 0 points.
Gab?
No, look, if Paul Pogba, I appreciate Pogba said what he did, and we're sitting here trying to parse his words and what did he mean by attitude, like he's the freaking oracle. I might just suggest to you that if Pogba had come out and said nothing, everybody would be out there hammering Jose Mourinho again, the way everybody's been doing, because this was a poor performance. I don't have a problem with Pogba coming out and basically saying, we, the players, were really bad today, and we let the manager down. And that's effectively what he said with the attitude. You know, we criticize him before when we talk about tension between him and Mourinho. Here's a situation where he's taking it on the chin as captain with himself first and foremost, and then, you know, speaking for the team and not going out and maybe trying to save the manager some bullets. And now we're criticizing him again. You know, it wasn't Pogba who decided to go and play Bailly and Lindelof, who, by the way, Mourinho bought. It wasn't him who like Ashley Young did on the first goal, just was totally out of position. He didn't do all this stuff. He went out there and said, we were awful today. We, the players, we take responsibility. Our attitude was wrong. And now, you know, for people to come out and say, oh, but the attitude's the one thing you can control. Yeah, that's what he's saying. He's saying, we were bad. Look at us. Maybe not so much the manager this time.
In the Premier League, Gab Marcotti was given a solo.
Okay.
Chance today to pick the team of the weekend. Here it is in all of its beautiful glory. Put Aguero there, David Silva, Pedro, Richarlison, Maddison, Cropper. Is there anyone that we feel we should be...
Eden Hazard came in and changed the game. Made a difference. Destroyed Arsenal down that side once he came onto the field. I mean,
Instead of who?
Who would you have instead of Pedro?
yeah, instead of Pedro.
Gab, you were there.
Yeah, sorry. Official Team of the Week rules state that you don't get into the Team of the Week if you play less than a half. So unfortunately, while Eden Hazard was very good when he came on, he doesn't get into the Team of the Week.
So if you change the game, hold on a second.
You know Gab just made that up on the
I know.
spot and he's going to regret it.
I'm saying if you change the game,
Yes.
and you impact it in a way that now your team wins because you're on the field, that doesn't allow you an entrance into
I don't know why you're looking at me. I don't make the rules,
because
and they're not rules.
hey,
Anyway, Gab's just made that up in his head.
Because I tried reason with Gab, and that doesn't work. So I look at you because then hopefully you have an answer.
I have no answer.
Have you tried to reason with Dad?
No, but
Well, I was about to say.
I can only assume that Gab forgot that Hazard was involved. Or he left early from his corporate seat.
I did not.
Could have.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
I did not forget. No, I just think on principle, if you're out there for 90 minutes, there's chances that you can go and do bad things as well as good things. Marcos Alonso, for example, he scored a goal. He scored the winner, in fact, set up by Hazard, admittedly. He assisted on another goal. But he was also terrible defensively, right?
So how
but that's
was
because he was
Hazard
out there for
terribly?
90 minutes. He put in a full switch.
Oh, I see.
Hazard was only out there for half an hour. Maybe if he'd been out there for the whole game, he would have done bad things.
So, Gab,
it's a policy.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sorry.
the problem,
it's my policy.
problem with your policy is that Kun Aguero, for example, got substituted off. So they're
So, I know, but he scored 3 goals.
So if you
he didn't come off after half an hour,
He didn't
did
put
he?
in a full shift.
There's some holes in this.
He scored a hat trick. We're going to question Aguero, too. Come on now.
So if he came off the bench and scored a hat-trick, he still wouldn't be there?
Not unless there were exceptional circumstances. No.
These rules.
Come on, can we talk about Etheridge and Davy Proper?
Oh, I
Like,
can't then. What do
Davy
you want to
Proper
say?
is a good example.
Davy.
What do I say with Davy Proper? He played
Proper.
really, really well, and then he gave up a stupid penalty at the very end. But at that point, they were 3-1 up, so it didn't matter.
Right.
And that's why he still gets into the team.
What about Murray? Murray wasn't there, was he, Gab? I can't remember.
No, I really wanted to put Glenn Murray in, but then I thought, oh, I'm going to get so much stick because I would have put him in place of Pedro, and that would have been a bit harsh. So I kind of bottled it there.
Oh, and a word on the Cardiff goalkeeper, Etheridge, of course. 2 penalty saves in 2 weeks, didn't it, Gab?
All right, it was a horrendous penalty, but he still saved the penalty in the 94th minute. His own personal story is tremendous. It was a horrible game. I think it probably came on at 5 o'clock in the morning where you live, so you probably didn't get up to watch it. Or if
I
you
was
did,
up.
you were
It was
half
up at
asleep.
7:30
But
actually,
I
Gab.
slogged through it.
I was up at 7. I watched it. That's the dedicated way. I don't know his story. Can you? This is always dangerous. Can you say it briefly, Gab? Etheridge's story.
You're comfortable.
Well, no, briefly, he's the first Filipino or part Filipino goalkeeper in the Premier League. See, barriers coming down every day.
Well, that's the story. I thought. I knew that.
It was brief, but that was the brief version.
Yeah, that's a good thing. By the way, how does Kennedy not get
brief
thrown
one.
out of that game?
Well, the referee.
I mean, happening right in front of him. I don't understand.
Welcome to Extra Time. Alejandro Moreno returns.
About time.
And it's been noted on Twitter, the first tweet, Ali's back. Bienvenido de grosso amigo.
Okay.
Didn't you used to speak Spanish? Did you
Well, that's
live
not
in
Spanish,
Madrid?
is it? Bienvenido.
Yeah, but I
it's
mean,
not Spanish, is it? That's
you
French.
Oh, that's French? Okay.
It's not Spanish.
Yeah, it's not Spanish.
I can tell you it's not Spanish.
Bienvenido is
Well,
Spanish. There you go.
I couldn't
Take
speak
that back.
I will. I take it back.
Please don't take it easy on Manchester United players today. Well, you talked about United. Let's talk about your holidays, Al. Where did you go? What did you do? Who did you see?
My best buddy from high school lives in Munich.
Oh,
so I went and visited him and his family.
He went that far to get away from you?
Yeah.
Correct. But he couldn't get away. And then we went to Austria as well.
Well, lovely.
Yeah, we went to Salzburg. Beautiful place, Salzburg. It was great. A lot of cultural enlightenment for the
What
children.
a cultured gentleman
Well,
you've
you know,
become all of a sudden.
Oh, man of the people. What can I say?
Very cultured.
Yes, very
Yeah.
cultured. A little Sound of Music action in Austria.
Oh, good Lord.
We're allowed to talk about holidays in front of Shaka, or do we get into trouble?
I don't know. Apparently, that's a touchy subject. I just found out.
Ask a question.
Do you think Zidane could save Manchester United, or Sir Alex's legacy is a big shadow over anyone who gets this job?
Zidane cannot save this Manchester United. And I think the biggest issue for Zinedine Zidane or whoever the next Manchester United boss is, or this one for that fact, is as this continues, they're falling further and further behind Manchester City.
Yes.
And I think at this point, they've even fallen behind Liverpool, who show no real signs of slowing on their progression. So this continues, or the longer it continues, the longer United fans will have to wait before they see another title.
Gab, how close are we to the bottom completely falling out of Mourinho at Manchester United?
I don't know. I mean, look, he's signed. This is the thing, right? Back in January, he signed that very big contract extension. United are running a business. You know, for better or worse, they've lost one game. So, unless Mourinho wants to somehow get himself fired, if he sticks around, as long as he keeps them floating in the top four, and you know, maybe they make a run in Europe, I can't see United coming out and firing him. So I think necessarily the situation is going to improve. It has to improve, but you know, this is classic third season issues with United.
Have you ever assisted on a goal, and was it better than Edison? Shaka Histon.
I have once.
Tell us about it in all its lovely details.
I have once. Played for Newcastle.
Newcastle
It was Aston Villa. I think it was Villa Park.
Right.
Don't play like you don't know. It's not like you had 1,000 assists in your career. You had one,
I'm just
so.
trying to pick, you know, I'm trying to pick the best one. Trying to pick the best one
I
out.
remember it might have been Villa Park, or I don't know.
If I remember correctly.
Come on, man.
Well, it wasn't a goal kick, I can say that much. Rolly ball to the edge of the box, over the top for Les Ferdinand. Nobody could stop Les Ferdinand in those circumstances. 1-0.
So did you mean for that ball to
Yes.
go where it went, or you
Yes.
just hitting it
Yes.
and then hope
Yeah,
that something
absolutely. Absolutely.
why?
Les and I had a thing. You had a thing, you know?
What on earth was the thing?
What is
Give him a
that
little
thing?
signal.
And if it was such a good thing, why don't it only ever work once?
Well, how much
question.
time we have? All right, well, I would put my kicks a certain distance every single time. Or, you know, thereabouts. And then once, because Les, like them hung up, he liked to challenge. And then when I give him the eyes, like that, I could drill it a little flatter and he would run onto it. But you had to draw the defense out for that to happen.
Once, Jack.
Huh? Well, he kept missing the others. He missed the others, didn't he? He kept missing empty goals.
He didn't see the sign. He didn't see the sign.
Right, I give him the order. I give him the order
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
like that, and he just kept winning. Why?
Miscommunication.
Gab, do you agree with Mbappe's comment that Neymar is still the superstar at PSG?
Well, in terms of superstar, yeah. And look, by the way, obviously, Mbappe has to say that. But, you know, the way this kid is going, based on what we saw again on Saturday, sky's the limit. He's certainly on a trajectory which I think will take him to Neymar's level and beyond.
Anything you want to say about this?
Yeah, of course Mbappe has to say this. And it's fine. And if I were Mbappe, actually, I would enjoy the fact that Neymar is going to attract a lot of attention, and I just keep running by people and scoring goals.
Yeah.
That's fine. Fine by me. I'll
Nice
take
couple
that.
of goals at the weekend. Wasn't
Yeah.
it? Sweet. ESPN back on your screen, Star, with the same lineup.
What?
Would you believe?
You're not going on holiday again?
No, I am not. I am here for good.
You're in a position to
What
make
about you,
jokes about that,
Shaq?
Shaq.
What about you, Shaq?
You all keep
You're allowed
quiet.
to do that.
Keep quiet.
When is the next one, Shaq?
I haven't been anywhere for a very long time. Every day, ESPN FC. Where's the little bump thingy?
There it is.
Available daily.
Yeah.
ESPN Plus. And wherever you get your podcast, your fine podcast.
What are you talking about?
I'm doing a promo.
iTunes?
Yes.
I'm doing
You're making
I'm
stuff
doing
up.
a proper promo. That's how you're supposed to do it.
It's terrible. You need a holiday.
Not even a hint of a slip-up from Manchester City as they began their title defence at home against Huddersfield Town, winning by 6-1, fresh from the victory over Arsenal last week. Pep Guardiola's team goes from strength to strength. Janusz is a hat-trick for Sergio Aguero. David Silva scoring on his 250th appearance. It's an amazing goal. 6 of them.
Appointment television, right? You have to watch it. I don't care what the end score, and maybe there's no competition like we saw against Huddersfield, but they've not missed a beat, no matter who's on the pitch, right? The blueprint doesn't change and is executed well 99% of the time. And, you know, it's great to trust your teammates, to understand how good they are, because it seems to me at times now, you know, when you're informed like that and you know that the player next to you is capable of pulling off almost anything, you almost look for these plays that are harder than they need to be because you trust them. You know how good they are. Normally, each team has maybe one, maybe two players that you know during hard times that, you know, they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, right? This team has, what, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Even if they play badly, you always know that somebody's going to come good. Exceptional to watch.
And even in the week where they lost Kevin De Bruyne for 3 months, supposedly. Now, taking a look at that team, they had a great start last year. Obviously, besides the draw against Everton, going on that phenomenal winning run. Look at what they've got in front of them in the next 5 weeks before they have to come up against Liverpool. They are the only member of the so-called top 6 City who do not have to play another member of the top 6 in those 5 matches.
Well, you look at that, and after 7 games, I mean, you know, this is one of the few teams that on paper can beat any of them, and you feel comfortable, right? We've seen Manchester United already. They've dropped points against that sort of team. But for Manchester City, you know, you often talk about, you know, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. That's not the case when you have a team like Manchester City. We saw it with Chelsea a couple of years ago in October when they had that run. You know, I looked at them last season, and you say 100 points, 19 games unbeaten. And I'm saying to myself, impossible to replicate that. But I wonder. I think they could. But the bottom line, Ross, is that after those 7 games or maybe 10 games, they already may have a gap that at that stage will be saying, forget about it, that's over.
You think that that would obviously help them in the Champions League, but it's a massive challenge for them to keep up this kind of quality throughout the whole of that challenge between Premier League and Champions League, even if they get a sizable lead in the Premier League.
Yeah, but look at the luxury this sort of run already, 2 games, affords Pep Guardiola in terms of rotations and getting players involved. You look at on the bench today, Mahrez, Sané, Otamendi, Sterling, Walker, Foden, right? I mean, so now you have 2 games, you look at the schedule and you say, we're capable of getting 3 points against the next 5 opponents, right? Simply. And you can rotate that. So comes Christmas time, comes January, February, where, remember, Manchester City struggled with injuries last season. I mean, they got it through, but, you know, this is almost perfect because Pep was forced to do that, right? Just because of the World Cup, he knew that some players needed time. So that luxury, if they run the table in the next 4 or 5 weeks, I think it benefits them, no?
It's looking very good for them, certainly, just after 2 games or so. But it's worth mentioning, 100 points last year. Against Huddersfield at home, they dropped 2. So they're already bettering what they did last year. An incredible repeat win for Brighton and Hove Albion against Manchester United at home, the same as they did last year, but this time by a margin of 3-2. It wasn't that close, Janusz, even though Manchester United got the late consolation. For most of that match, United going forward were a non-spectacle.
And you know what? The worst part for United is that you could sense that Brighton believed from the get-go, right? The days of losing to United in the tunnel are long gone. That's the unfortunate part. I think you have teams that are playing out against United and saying, yeah, we can get this. because they see what's happening there. It's the negative identity that Manchester United have, players playing with fear. You can question the quality of the squad. Certainly, it's easy to put a lot of it on Jose Mourinho, but I think you have to look at the players as well. I mean, yes, it's one thing to play with fear. Yes, maybe another thing is to say, look, our managers doesn't trust us, doesn't think we're good enough, right? Because we've heard that. But at the end of the day, if you truly believe that there's world-class players on this team, they've got to show it against all the odds, against anything. I mean, at the end of the day, you play for yourself, you play for pride, you want to be talked about. Who knows, one day you want to be considered as one of the best, maybe if you have to move on elsewhere. And I look at this team, and Brighton put them under pressure. I mean, fear in their eyes, the back four, inability to break pressure, very few chances. Think about it. I mean, Lukaku, maybe the game changes in the 10th minute when he scores that goal, he had that chance. But for the most part, he had a couple of chances. Other than that, even in the second half when Manchester United started bright, possession, but no chances for the most part.
Is it more psychological than technical then, would you say? Because basically the centre-back pairing of Bailly and Lindelof were given a runaround by a 34-year-old veteran in Glenn Murray. Yeah, lack of quality, that is for sure. You know, I think it's the fear. I mean, the confidence is everything, right? This is Manchester United that, you know, you look at left back, I mean, people are talking about Luke Shaw. Look, I want him to do well. I know it hasn't been easy for him in terms of injury and in terms of his manager not backing him. But if you look at other teams, left backs, you look at Benjamin Mendy, you look at Robertson at Liverpool, you look at, you know, even Ben Davies, you know, anybody else. I mean, do you think Luke Shaw is at the same level? I don't, right? And you can go elsewhere. Look at Paul Pogba. I was a big fan of him at Juventus, but you have to believe, please tell me, that you think he's capable of doing more, whatever you think of the relationship between him and Mourinho. I don't see it. I mean, who took the responsibility on their shoulders today in the center of the pitch? It was Fred. Fred wanted the ball. He was in the thick of things. Good passing, at least wanting that ball. I didn't see Paul Pogba doing that. Martial, I look at his body language, I don't like it. He can fix that. Yeah, it's not easy under Mourinho, but he can fix that himself. Rashford, nothing special. Lingard came in, didn't change the game. It's just all around lack of belief. Can that be fixed by Mourinho with a 180 turn? Is that even likely?
I don't think so. Well, it depends what what you think they can do this season. I think they can be the top four, but I don't think you can get much more from that team than you're seeing right now. Again, Fellaini goes on the sideline. What do you think? It's negative. They're probably behind because he's coming in for the most part. You know, sometimes he comes in to close the deal, if you will, but I mean, the game changes, right? You're talking about Manchester United when Fellaini comes in the second half and every ball's long. That's not the mentality that I know from Manchester United. But I'm old, or getting older, I should say.
Well, it's certainly growing time now. It's certainly been under 3 managers that Fellaini seems to be a very go-to plan B. It happened today for Manchester United, but the result went against them. Full credit to Brighton. Brilliant performance from them, helping their